3. And I'd like to open this meeting today with a moment of silence as I looked at the news, and all of you have as well. There's a lot going on in our community, but there's a lot going on nationally when I think about all the individuals, children that were killed in Texas. It just breaks all of our hearts and our spirits. And I would just like for us to have a moment of silence. Thank you. I will now read the public charge. The Board of Commissioners asks its members and citizens to conduct themselves in a respectful, courteous manner, both with the board and fellow citizens. At any time, should any member of the board or any citizen fail to observe this public charge, the chair will ask the offending person to leave the meeting until that individual regains personal control. Should decorum fail to be restored, the chair will recess the meeting until such time that a genuine commitment to the public charge is observed. This time, if you will stand with us as Commissioner Carter, if you will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Are there any agenda adjustments, commissioners? Hearing none, I will move on to the announcements and have Ms. Wallace, if she will read our announcements for us.
Good evening, commissioners, and to the public. I will read the announcements that are published in our agenda. Get free COVID home test kits. All North Carolina households are eligible to order 2 free COVID-19 home test kits per month, now through June 30th. There is a link on our website where you are able to order those. Free home test kits are also available at Durham County Department of Public Health. To obtain a kit, please visit 414 East Main Street, where one can be picked up at the front entrance screening windows. Kits are available on Mondays and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. They are also available on Wednesdays from noon until 4 p.m. Property Tax Relief Program. Durham County Tax Administration wants to help ensure that all property owners are aware of property tax relief programs that may benefit them. There are 3 major tax relief programs known as homestead programs available for homeowners who qualify. The application deadline for the homestead program is June 1st, 2023. Please visit deconc.gov/tax and search for relief, or you can call the Tax Administration Office at 919-560-0300. Changes in Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, Electronic Benefit Transfer, which is SNAP or EBT, starting March 2023. Extra SNAP and EBT, formerly food stamp benefits or emergency allotments, received during COVID ended March 2023. Recipients can review their regular monthly benefits available online through the EBT Edge app. There is also additional information about free food programs in Durham. You can visit endhungerdurham.org for additional information. Need help buying food? SNAP may be able to help with buying food. Help with completing a SNAP application can be provided by Katie Forrest at Durham County Cooperative Extension. You can contact Katie at 919-909-7469. There's also a contact number for individuals who need assistance that speak Spanish. WIC is a program to help women, infant, and children receive food. For additional information about that, you can contact Lincoln Community Health Center at 919-956-4042. Kids Voting Durham Civic Leadership Intern Youth, age 14 through 24. Looking for a meaningful experience this summer where you can earn service hours, work with a great team of youth and adults, meet Durham decision makers, and make an impact on your community in the upcoming election. Learn more about the civic leadership intern opportunities at Kids Youth Durham by visiting kidsyouthdurham.org. You can also email info@kidsvotingdurham.org or call 919-560-7321. Children's Book Week Bookmark Design Contest for Kids. Calling all kid artists. The library wants you to help design a bookmark for Children's Book Week. The theme is Read Books, Spark Change. Pick up a handout at your local library location, create a design, and turn it in to the library by Saturday, May 13th. Winners will be announced Monday, May 22nd. There is a link here for additional details about the contest, as well as contact information. There are 4 different individuals that you can reach out to. National Foster Care Month. May is National Foster Care Month, and the 2023 theme is Strengthening Minds, Uplifting. Throughout the month of May, Durham County Department of Social Services will help raise awareness about foster care in our community while honoring the young people in foster care, as well as the volunteers who support those in need of temporary or permanent housing. Learn more about how to help change the life of a child in our community at Decode DSS Foster Care webpage. It is located on the decodenc.gov website. You can also call 919-560-8092 for additional information. That concludes the announcements that are in our agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. I appreciate you reading those for us. The next item, Commissioners, are minutes. We have before us the April 10th, 2023 regular session minutes. Are there any edits or comments regarding the minutes? Hearing none, I will ask for a motion to approve.
Madam Chair, I move the approval of the April 10th minutes.
Second.
Moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Passes 5-0. Next, we have ceremonial items.
Madam Chair, can I make one quick announcement? Thank you. I'm sorry. I should have made it right before the announcements. Since we have so many folks in the audience tonight, a lot of you all know that Fidelity Investments is here in Durham, and they recently announced a $250 million scholars program for African American and Hispanic kids. The deadline was Friday. They have extended it. It is $250 million worth of scholarship money, last dollar scholarship money, and wraparound services. The funding is only available to students in 5 cities in North Carolina: Durham, Raleigh, High Point, Greensboro, and Jamestown. It is actually available to every zip code in Durham. That is unheard of. Every zip code. There are only 3 states, us, Massachusetts, and Texas. I'm going to get, of course, I will pass it along to the clerk, but they extended today. That's just $250 million left on the table that our kids can get. And the money is not just used for a degree program. It can be used for a certificate program. So I see President Buxton sitting there nodding his head in affirmation. So it can be used at Durham Tech as well. So please, 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 if you know a deserving student in high school, please go to the Fidelity Scholars Program and get your application in by May 15th, 11:59. Thank you.
So Commissioner Burns, will that information be on our website so that the public have access to it? Where will it be located?
I will send it to Monica right now so that we can make it available on our website.
Thank you. Okay, now our ceremonial items is next, Commissioners, 230308, a resolution on Resilient and Thriving Communities Week. So the board is requested to receive a resolution from the Adverse Childhood Experience and Resilient Coordinator and the Durham Adverse Childhood Experience and Resilient Task Force. And I have asked Commissioner Burns if she will read that resolution for us.
Durham County Board of County Commissioners Resolution, Resilient and Thriving Communities Week. Whereas resilient and thriving communities are vital to our community and state's future, health, success, and prosperity to ensure a strong foundation for everyone at all ages and stages of life. And whereas the science is clear that resilience is built and that communities and systems play a key role in promoting safe, secure, and nurturing environments for all. And whereas adverse childhood and life experiences, adverse community environments, atrocious cultural experiences, and adverse climate events impact overall quality of life and well-being of an entire community. And whereas Healthy North Carolina 2030, a path toward health by the North Carolina Institute of Medicine, in partnership with the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Public Health, identifies reduction of adverse child experiences by 25% by 2030 as a goal. And whereas it is our collective responsibility to collaborate in a nonpartisan fashion to promote positive experiences, secure relationships, and supportive environments, to buffer stress and adversity, and to support local resilience coalitions, collaboratives, task force, and initiatives across the state. And whereas investing in policies, programs, and strategies that address adversity and strengthen community resilience is essential to health and well-being of our community. Whereas Durham County encourages all individuals in all sectors, public, private, early childhood through post-secondary education, faith-based organizations, healthcare systems, justice systems, social services systems, businesses, and elected leaders to collaborate to strengthen our communities. And now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Durham County Board of County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim April 29th through May 6th as Resilient and Thriving Communities Week in our community and commend its observance to our citizens. Be it therefore further resolved that we, the members of the Durham Board of County Commissioners, do hereby urge the entire Durham community to become trauma-informed and supportive of strategies that strengthen individual, family, and community buffers that can prevent or alleviate the effects of adverse childhood experiences and adverse community environments. Be it further resolved that we, the Durham County Board of County Commissioners, commit to work with the Durham Adverse Childhood Experiences and Resilience Task Force to develop and act upon a policy agenda that will address the root causes of adverse experiences in our communities. This, the 8th day of May, 2023.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. And I will ask staff, DSS staff, or Health Department staff to address you.
Thank you, County Commissioners, for this resolution. Thank you, Chair Howerton, for working with us to make it a stronger call to action this year. And we really do look forward to working with the board on a policy agenda that can really make real change for our community around adverse experiences.
Would you give your name
Oh,
and
yes.
your title?
Yes, sorry. Jess Bosquet, Adverse Childhood Experiences and Resilience Coordinator, Durham County Public Health.
Thank you so much. Any comments, commissioners? Yeah, Commissioner Jacobs.
Well, thank you, Jess, for bringing this to us and for your great presentation at our last meeting. And I'm just so glad that we have you as our coordinator and all the work that you're doing to implement what was highlighted in this resolution. And I just want to also mention that the Surgeon General announced last week that loneliness is a national health crisis. And and especially among young people. So really lifting that up. And I think that I feel like that's something that we can do something about in Durham. We are an engaged community. Creating a community that is inclusive is important. And I know this summer there's a big focus on getting all children and youth engaged in something. And the other thing I wanted to share is I listened to a podcast just this week. I did share with a few people because we're going to be talking about mental health at our joint school board and Board of County Commission meeting, talking about how the conclusion of the podcast about the mental health crisis with our youth is the importance of our youth or children having a relationship with one person, just one adult, having a positive, loving, mentoring relationship, and that being such a strong protective factor. So again, I think this is something that we can do in Durham, and thank you.
And I also want to say thank you, Jess. Thank you for taking this on because it's so important to all of us. And Heidi and I were wanted to get with you, but Heidi was busy with a new grandbaby. Congratulations. So, it starts there.
Yep.
It starts with the little ones.
Yep.
So thank you for all the work that you're doing. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for the support in this.
Absolutely. The next proclamation is 230309, Older Americans Month, and the board is requested to proclaim May 2023 as Older Americans Month, and I've asked Commissioner Potter if she would read this resolution and have staff from the Department of Social Services come forward.
It would be my honor to read this resolution proclaiming Older American Month 2023. Whereas Durham County includes a growing number of older Americans who contribute their strength, wisdom, and experience to our community, and whereas Durham County is a diverse community and benefits people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds, and they are all welcomed, supported, included, and given the opportunity to participate and live independently. And whereas Durham County recognizes the need to create a community that offers the services and supports older adults may need to make choices about how they age. And whereas Durham County can work to build an even better community for older residents by implementing the Master Aging Plan, not limiting our thinking about aging, exploring and combating stereotypes, emphasizing the many positive aspects of aging, inspiring older adults to push past traditional boundaries, embracing our community's diversity, and confirming all people, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, age, or disability, have the right to make choices and decisions about their own lives, to live independently for as long as possible, and to participate fully in our community. Now, therefore, I, Brenda A. Howerton, Chair, and on behalf of the Durham Board of County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim May 2023 as Older Americans Month in Durham County, North Carolina, and urge every resident to celebrate our older residents, help to create an inclusive society, and accept the challenge of flexible thinking around aging. We also recommend this observance to our community and urge all residents, community agencies, faith groups, medical facilities, and businesses to join with the Department of Social Services, the Durham Center for Senior Life, Dementia Inclusive Durham, and Aging Well Durham to honor older adults and those who care for them during May and throughout the year. This, the 8th day of May, 2023.
Carter. We have with the podium.
Good evening. My name is Megan Russ, and I'm here with Lee Little, and we are both program managers with the Aging and Adult Services Division with the Department of Social. Thank you for this proclamation and recognizing May as Older Americans Month. to not only have it recognized statewide, but even more importantly for Durham County, our community, recognizing Older Americans Month is so important for our residents who are aging. While at the Aging in America conference this past March, Lee and I were reminded that we are all aging every day, not just those who are over 60. This year's theme for Older Americans Month is Aging Unbound, which highlights the many diverse aging experiences, as well as the community's role in combating ageism and stereotypes. One statistic that Governor Cooper highlighted in his statewide proclamation is that 14% of employees in North Carolina are 60 or older. We all know that the number of citizens over 60 is growing rapidly, and I'm sure that the percentage of people over age 60 that are employed will be growing as well. This is something that not everyone thinks about when considering the needs of our older community. As a community combating ageism, we need to recognize, advocate, and support our aging population as their experiences are changing. There are more and more adults over 60 staying in the workforce or continuing their education, acting as the primary caretaker for children, and giving back to our community in meaningful ways. We also have a community of older adults in poor health, both physically and/or mentally, and their aging experience can be vastly different. It is estimated that over 300,000 North Carolinians are affected by Alzheimer's disease and related dementias. This number is estimated to grow to 400,000 by 2025. We cannot, as a community, see someone's age and have a one-size-fits-all approach. Our older community members are aging unbound. I was thrilled to see that Governor Cooper on May 2nd signed Executive Order 280, North Carolina's commitment to building an age-friendly state. This order has outlined 10 sections, and the 3 that we're most excited about are creating a caregiver workforce strategic leadership group, improving protection of vulnerable adults, which we know is all so important as APS cases have increased by nearly 70% in the last 5 years, and submitting North Carolina's application to become an age-friendly state. As the governor signed this executive order, I am reminded of what Durham has already put in place with our master aging plan. Our plan's mission is that we will celebrate aging as well as meet the needs and engage the strengths of all residents towards the goal of building a safe, affordable, accessible, connected, and inclusive community for all ages. I feel so fortunate to be able to reside in a community where leaders, both here in Durham County and at the state level, take action to improve the lives of our older community. Our Aging and Adult Services Division, along with our many community partners and with the support of this Board of County Commissioners, strive to provide our older adults with the various resources, services, and funding that is needed to allow our community to age unbound. Lee and I, with the Aging and Adult Services Division, along with the Department of Social Services, are so very thankful for your recognition and proclamation for May to be Older Americans Month. May we all age unbound.
Thank you. Commissioners? Comments or questions? Commissioner Jacobs?
Thank you so much for bringing us this proclamation, for your comments, Megan, and both of you for the work that you do. I did not realize that Governor Cooper was following Durham's lead in being designated an age-friendly community. We started the process about 4 years ago and are in the process with implementing our aging plan. And I want to recognize that we had a dementia awareness event on April 29th, just before the beginning of this special month. And Lee, thank you for being there, and for DSS, Durham County DSS being one of the sponsors of the event. And we had over 100 people who came out from all different ages, all different backgrounds, because dementia and Alzheimer's really impacts, almost everyone in the room raised their hand when I asked how many people know someone or have a family member or a friend impacted by the disease. So something that we need to keep working on. And I'm grateful for both of you, your leadership in Aging Adult Services and the great work that DSS does every day. Thank you.
And I also would like to say thank you and for lifting this up. It's one of the things that we all know. If we live long enough, we're going to all get there. I've been to 2 events this week for seniors, and everybody's dancing. So it must be something about dancing. I show up. It's a good exercise for seniors to dance. So thank you for bringing this and honoring older adults. Thank you.
Can't help, Sharon, because you mentioned that dancing is considered to be one of the things that you can do to prevent dementia and Alzheimer's.
I'll keep dancing.
So there you go.
Keep it up. All right, we will move on to our next proclamation. And this one is National Drug Court Month. The board is requested to proclaim May 2023 as National Drug Court Month. And I've asked Commissioner Alam if she would read this proclamation, and then we'll have, I see our judges coming to the podium.
Durham Board of County Commissioners Proclamation National Drug Court Month 2023. Whereas treatment courts have been restoring lives and families for more than 3 decades, and whereas there are now more than 4,000 treatment courts nationwide, and whereas treatment courts are the cornerstone of justice reform sweeping the nation, and whereas treatment courts have served more than 1.5 million individuals, and whereas they are now recognized as the most successful justice system intervention in our nation's history. And whereas they save an average of $6,000 for every individual they serve. And whereas treatment courts significantly improve substance use disorder treatment outcomes, substantially reduce addiction and related crime, and do so at less expense than any other criminal justice strategy. And whereas treatment courts improve education, employment, housing, and financial stability, promote family reunification, reduce foster care placements, and increase the rate of addicted mothers delivering babies who are fully drug-free. And whereas treatment courts facilitate community-wide partnerships, bringing together public safety and public health. And whereas treatment courts demonstrate that when one person rises out of substance use and crime, we all rise. Now, therefore, I, Brenda A. Howerton, Chair, and on behalf of the Durham Board of County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2023 as National Drug Court Month in Durham County, North Carolina, and urge all citizens to join in recognizing how important it is to help justice-involved individuals remain drug and alcohol-free and to become productive members of society. This, the 8th day of May 2023.
Hi, my name is Lentora Duncan. I'm the Drug Treatment Court Coordinator. I just want to say thank you for proclaiming May Drug Court Month. Durham County Drug Treatment Court currently has 30 participants with an average of serving 45 a year. Last year, we had 5 graduates, and we continue to accept referrals. Our Drug Treatment Court team was selected to receive training from the National Drug Court Institute for this August. As we celebrate Drug Court Month, we have Spirit Week for the entire week. Just to highlight a few, this week we're teaming up against drugs by wearing one's favorite sports apparel on Friday. May 18th, we will have a Sock It to Drugs by wearing tacky socks celebration at CJRC. And on May 31st, we will have No Drugs in Sight with the paint night wearing neon colors. Drug Treatment Court participates in several events throughout the year to include Recovery Month, and during the holiday seasons, we provide each participant with a holiday dinner box. Once again, thank you for your continued support, and we look forward to seeing you at our next graduation in June.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Howerton and the other honorable members of the commission. My name is Judge David Hall. I preside over drug court. and thank you for the opportunity to address the commission tonight. I didn't prepare anything because sometimes it's best to speak from the heart. And I've had the honor to preside and or be the steward of drug court since 2018. And I want to uplift the support, the leadership that the county provides in funding drug court. It wouldn't be here without you. You are the leader of our team, our family, our village. It goes without saying that people come to drug court sometimes at a low point in their lives of justice involvement and trying to get out from under addictions. We've had the opportunity, the pleasure to have graduated some wonderful people. And with your support of wraparound services, employment, and we have some folks working for the county, we've really been able to see some people turn their lives around. But we couldn't do it without the support of the CJRC team that is really the backbone and support the inner workings. They meet with these folks day to day. They get to know them. They get to know the ins and outs. It's a very intimate courtroom. It is a closed courtroom due to the nature of the issues that we deal with in drug court, but it is open for you to come to visit. I would ask the members, if you want to come in and visit, that let them know you're coming in. You are always welcome. We have some more graduations coming up. We've had quite a few graduations in the last year, and drug court should be and is a feather in your cap. We are one of only 16 counties in the state to have drug court. It is a big deal. It is a big deal in Durham, and it is a big deal across the state. To see people graduate, have their families come back together, reunite kids. I could go on all night about all of the good things that come out of drug court with your support. I hope you'll continue to support it. I hope you will come and visit, get to meet some of the folks, and please keep providing the services that you do because you give hope. You have folks that come in, get out from under. We offer employment, you offer housing. We work with Freedom House, the Hope Center, and that's just a few. I don't want to name names because I'll probably leave somebody out, but the sheriffs, the DAs, public defenders, CJRC, and all of the treatment providers, the police department, they're all part of the family. So thank you for all you do, and thank you for the proclamation for National Drug Court Month, and we'll hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Anything for you, Ms. Parker?
All right.
Good evening, and thank you again. I didn't have a lot to say. I just wanted to support the team coming up, but I do want to say thank you for the continued support of Drug Treatment Court. Drug Treatment Court provides a valuable resource to the Durham community, helping those individuals that are drug and alcohol addicted to become drug and alcohol free, and then also become employed and productive members of society. So we just thank you so much for the continued support of the court, and offer that you come out to our graduation. If you want to tour the drug court suite on the 6th floor of the courthouse, come and visit us there. We can tell you all about the court, and then really let you see the ins and outs of what the staff do on a day-to-day basis with the individuals that we serve. So again, we thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, Commissioner Burns?
Yes, ma'am. Mine will be relatively quick. As always, thank y'all for so much that you do, and thank you for the open invitation. I will look forward to June. I will try to. We had 3 events, I think, on the last one, but in preparation for the night, I did look up some numbers. So this is 2020 numbers. So I think in 2020, they did a national survey, and 41 million people said that they were dealing with a substance abuse issue in the United States. Of those surveyed, people between the ages of, there were 1.6 million people between the ages of 12 and 17. So those are our adolescents. That's nationwide. That's before 2020. That's before COVID. That's before people were coping, trying to use alcohol and drugs to cope. So I imagine the numbers are way worse now. Court is way fuller now. It's exacerbated now. And Judge Hall, I love what you said about it being a feather in the cap, but it's only a feather in the cap if we receive it that way. If the elected officials in the communities receive it that way, anybody who's taking the time to go through drug treatment court and graduate, that is a nod that they want to take a step in the right direction. And so last month was Second Chance Act Month, and then this month is drug treatment court. I almost wish they were reversed so that we could do drug treatment court last month, and then I could press upon you all, these are the individuals that need a second chance. And so it's only a feather in their cap if we're prepared to say, yes, you can come here and get a job. It's only a feather in their cap if we say, yes, you can come here and get a certification or improve your education. Yes, we will put your child in this daycare for free while you're out here looking for a job. So while it's good that they're doing their part and we have some other community partners, I do hope that you all get to visit the court. You said 16. I thought it was 61 courts. I was way off, Judge Hall, in the state of North Carolina. I thought it was more judge courts than that in like 32 counties. But we have a really, really great opportunity here to take somebody who's trying to do better and give them the next leg up as they try to heal. So again, there's a lot more people that chose alcohol and drugs just to cope post-pandemic. Everybody is not some long-term user. Some people are just looking for some help. So I hope that you all take some time to see what these organizations are doing. It sounds crazy. We're taking the C off of CJRC. We're not saying substance abuse anymore. We're saying substance use. So we're changing our rhetoric because we want to be an open community. And I just hope y'all can join us in that. And last thing, special shout out to Gudrun, who's been at CJRC for 20-some years, and she's retiring. So we're going to miss you, sis, doing some of this great work. That was all.
Okay. So, Commissioner Alam.
Thank you, Chair Houghton. I just want to thank you so much. Ditto to everything Commissioner Burns said, and just adding just how amazing it has been to watch the staff who leads this program. When Tora and Rashana, when I came for the Justice Resource Center tour, and even after the conversations I've had with you, Rashana, like the passion that exists within your hearts to help our community members and the amount of care, I think it's really exemplary of the service leaders that we have within Durham County. The way that that you speak about every individual that comes through the program, and you speak about their kids and their families and the impact you want to have, I think it's so, so important to show the type of environment that we're trying to build here in Durham County and how vital these programs are, not just to exist, but to have good people running them, people who genuinely care. And I'm really glad that we have that here in Durham County with three of you.
Yes, I also want to express my thanks and admiration for the really important work that you three and your whole team do related to drug treatment court. And I have had the chance to visit 2 different times since I've been a commissioner, and each time I've learned something new and you know, just felt the heart in the room for the work that we're doing. And I also know that you're continuously looking to improve and are trying to follow best practices so that, you know, our numbers and data will reflect the data that was in this resolution as it is doing. But I really appreciate that aspect of your work. We recently added medicine for opioid use disorder as one of the potential outcomes of the court. It's not just about, you know, abstaining. It's a lot about harm reduction and all of the things that we know are best practices. So thank you so much, and glad that you brought this resolution to us tonight.
Well, I just want to say thank you. Did you want, Commissioner? I just want to say thank you again for all the work you've done. I haven't been to the workshops that you have, usually conference. I used to go to those. I haven't done that in a while, but we know that when we started this work, how important it was then and how important it still is. So thank you for all the work that you do to keep it going. Thank you. All right. Our next item is a proclamation, a resolution honoring the life and legacy of Mr. Nathan T. Garrett Sr., former county commissioner and business leader. The Board of Commissioners is asked to approve this resolution honoring the life and legacy of Mr. Garrett, who made his transition on April 26, 2023. The resolution was prepared and read. It was not read at his service, but it was, Bill Bell announced that it was there, that we had prepared it on Saturday, May 6th at Duke Chapel. And at this time, the family is not here tonight. We will do that at another time, but we wanted to, as a community, honor this county commissioner, this legacy of a man that was important to our community. Commissioner Jacobs.
Thank you for this honor. The Durham Board of County Commissioners resolution honoring the legacy of Nathan Taylor Garrett Sr. Whereas Nathan Taylor Garrett Sr. was born in Tarboro, North Carolina, but raised in Durham, where his family relocated during his early years, and whereas he received his early education in Durham Public Schools and graduated from Hillside High School as valedictorian, and whereas Garrett continued his formal education at Yale University, where he earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology, studied accounting and business at Wayne State University, and earned his CPA certification in 1961, becoming the 5th African American CPA in Michigan. And whereas he opened the first Black-owned accounting firm in the state of North Carolina, and used his insights on Black business to achieve success in various professional arenas. And whereas Garrett founded and served as executive director of the Foundation for Community Development, originally formed as part of the North Carolina Fund, a cutting-edge wealth and education program conceived at the request of former North Carolina Governor Terry Sanford to break the cycle of poverty for many of the state's residents. And whereas as lifelong learning was a personal value, he earned a Juris Doctorate degree from North Carolina Central University School of Law in 1986. And whereas in 1992, he was elected the first African American president of the National Association of State Boards of Accountancy. And whereas during his career, he was chairman of the Minority Economic Development Advisory Committee to the U.S. Secretary of Commerce, chairman emeritus of the Board of Directors of North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance, president of the National Association of Minority CPA Firms, and the North Carolina Association of Minority Businesses, and served as a Durham County Commissioner from 1972 until 1974. And whereas this gifted, pioneering, and passionate business leader will long be remembered as a trailblazer, benefactor, mentor, and dynamic change maker. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the members of the Durham County Board of Commissioners, do hereby resolve to honor the memory of Nathan Taylor Garrett Sr. We urge all Durham County residents to reflect on his extraordinary legacy of business accomplishments, his strong work ethic, his genuine love of this community, and his extraordinary contributions. This, the 6th day of May, 2023, Brenda Howerton, Chair, Wendy Jacobs, Vice Chair, Nida Alam, Commissioner, Naimashina Burns, Commissioner, Heidi Carter, Commissioner.
Thank you. And after the service on Saturday, his wife said, "Let's go dance." And there was an area on the other side of the chapel that we went over and we danced. So that's what a way to say goodbye to your community, is that everybody gets to dance. Tammy Hall was there with me, and it was quite exciting to be there and joyous occasion. All right, so we are down to was other business. So 23-0324, the FY 2023-24 Manager's Recommended Budget Presentation. The Durham County Manager, Dr. Kimberly Sorrell, will formally present the recommended budget for FY 2023 to the Durham County Board of Commissioners. This is in accordance with NCGS 159-12 of the Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act. So we will hear Manager give us the budget.
Great, great, great. So I will first say that it is a little disappointing for me that budget adoption season coincides with allergy season. So please forgive me if I am constantly clearing my throat. But I want to say good evening to Chair Howerton and this illustrious and very distinguished Board of Commissioners. Good evening to county staff. Good evening to county residents. It is indeed an honor and a privilege for me to present to you my recommended budget for fiscal year 2023-24. This second budget of my tenure reflects the values and goals of our visionary board and my personal leadership belief in the power and effectiveness of cohesive, comprehensive, and focused local government. The hard choices made in this recommended budget are meant to solidify some of the gains that the county has made over the past year, respond to issues we are currently experiencing, and the choices are also meant to set us up for future successes. It is also the culmination of thousands of hours of work across all county departments, shared city-county agencies, and a significant number of partner agencies, many of them here tonight. These partner agencies are vital to our county's goals and objectives. So to all of our county employees, especially our budget and management staff, thank you all so much. And to our partner agencies who also helped in this process, I want to give you a great big heartfelt thank you. Would not be possible without your assistance. The budget process that culminates in this document can be seen as a census of county needs, an annual evaluation of county direction, as well as a fiscal application of county resources. This undertaking is much more than just the costing of a year's worth of county services. It is a dynamic opportunity for organizational self-reflection. It offers a chance for process realignment. And as always, it offers a chance for our commissioners as county representatives to be active participants in guiding county outcomes through fiscal application. The annual budget process is a series of considered decisions attempting to culminate into comprehensive solutions. So with this in mind, we must be a resilient government that not only performs during the best of times, but also, and perhaps more importantly, during times of economic, environmental, and social uncertainty. And while there are so many areas where the county can expand or provide additional services or even invest more time and resources, trust me, there are limitations to our very finite resources. Therefore, my recommended budget is a result of very targeted decisions that offer what I think are the best county investments. Moving forward, I will ask our Board of Commissioners, employees, as well as residents for clear short-term and long-term guidance so that we can develop key goals and direction for the county. In order to clarify that guidance, I am setting in motion a reimagining of the county's strategic plan. It is my very strong expectation that this updated strategic plan will be a frame of reference for every major policy, budget, and operational decision made by management and our board. In order for a strategic plan to work, it must be referenced, it has to be believed in, it needs to be constantly discussed, and it must be measured. That is the essential heart of a strategic plan, involving people and actions, and being willing to measure the success. So in my very excited opinion, I believe we are ready to make this important step. And in order to identify and make strategic decisions along with our board, it is critical that I have a trusted management team that can inform as well as challenge me, and they do that quite well. After taking about 9 months to observe and understand the management structure that was in place, I felt that some changes to the structure could be beneficial to increasing our organizational efficiency. The organizational restructure includes a realignment of leadership portfolios, as well as the inclusion of deputy county managers and assistant county managers. These positions will be vital to ensuring that our best planned solutions become reality. So the development of this budget is predicated on a third straight fiscal year of significant growth in major revenue sources. Durham County continues to grow in terms of business location, job expansion, as well as the number of people who choose this community as a desirable place to live. All of these economic drivers are in turn pushing our revenue sources higher and higher. And yet, we still see, feel, and recognize the need for so many more services, more intensive existing services, as well as new programs to deal with the evolving issues that are a part of our fast-growing community. Simply put, this amazing growth in revenue has been easily offset by a faster set of growing expenses. Ultimately, though, this budget is about meeting the near future needs of the community with an eye toward the ongoing sustainability of Durham County's vibrant economy, culture, and life. So key priorities that I've built into this recommended budget attempt to apply significant revenue growth to the most important areas that I feel will provide the best outcomes. My first priority, given such impressive revenue growth, is to implement services at a pace that allow us to minimize general fund property tax rate increases that may be needed. Second is protecting the economic stability of our employees by funding compensation levels that keep up with inflation, as well as support existing benefits. And thirdly, is continuing to support and grow educational and workforce opportunities for all Durham County residents. And while new positions are needed practically every year, I have made a very intentional choice to limit position growth for this upcoming fiscal year. So broadly speaking, estimated revenue growth for the upcoming fiscal year is distinctly positive. Major revenues include property tax, sales tax, Medicaid hold harmless funds, occupancy tax, and general fund balance. Durham County has seen very strong growth in sales tax revenue, as well as growth in city and county property valuation. Both are a direct reflection on local economic activity, which in turn increases overall revenue collection. However, even with significant natural growth in revenues, the financial needs presented by various departments across the organization are significantly higher than the natural growth in revenue alone can fund. So the fundamental challenge for the development of this recommended budget is that even with significant natural growth in key revenues, which total $36 million, 4 key priorities consumed most of this growth. As you can see here, these priorities totaled approximately $38 million, which is $2 million more than the growth in revenues. Employee compensation changes represent the largest single increase in the budget and reflect current economic realities facing our employees, as well as compensation study recommendations. Educational and workforce development funding increases mark the second biggest increase in the general fund budget at nearly $13.8 million, including Durham Public Schools, Durham Technical Community College, and pre-K support. Also, over the last 2 years, there have been significant challenges to filling vacant positions, to keep employees from leaving high-stress jobs, as well as overcoming the loss of organizational knowledge that occurs when we have long-tenured employees that retire. To that end, it should be noted that costs from current year compensation decisions, mid-year reclassifications, and management changes will cost an additional $3.6 million in the upcoming fiscal year. Please know that the Board of Commissioners and I strongly believe that all of our employees deserve to have salary increases that, at a minimum, keep up with inflation and surrounding county compensation trends. Per guidance from a compensation study by the Management Advisory Group, a major recommendation is a 7% across-the-board salary increase for every county position. And let the record show, I strongly support that recommendation. Also, along with those increases, it's like a COLA increase, but I also want to encourage and acknowledge that our workforce is an amazing workforce, and I would like to support and acknowledge the hard work they do by supporting a 3 to 4% pay for performance increase along with the 7% increase. It is my belief that the most comprehensive solution we can make as a local government is to appropriately recognize the people who will determine vitally important programmatic and service success. So in total, all employees will be eligible to receive anywhere from a 10% pay increase to a maximum pay increase of 11%. I like working for Durham County. So now, I'd like to talk about revenue. Current projections of year-end property tax collections have the county surpassing budgeted amounts by approximately $7 million. This additional revenue comes from growth in property valuation. The high growth in tax collection for the current fiscal year is largely fueling property tax revenue growth for the upcoming fiscal year. These explanations translate into estimated additional property tax revenue of $16.8 million for the general fund and capital financing fund before any property tax rate increase. So to put this into context, that's an equivalent to over 3 cents on the property tax rate. As part of the recent $550 million general obligation bond referendum, the county noted that there may be a related 2.5 cents property tax rate increase requested to support future debt service. Based upon our updated estimates, we now feel that a 1.5 cent property tax rate increase is needed for capital financing, while an additional 1.5 cents is needed for general fund, personnel, and operational costs. This means a total property tax rate increase is recommended at 3 cents. I certainly recognize the impact that property tax increases have on residents, and that it is important for the county, where possible, to limit the increase on property tax rate. This is why our management team was intentional about maximizing efficiencies as well as limiting expansion of services in other areas to provide the highest return on investment for all of our residents. So for context, we budget property tax revenue in 2 categories. One, to support general fund expenses, and the other to support capital financing fund. The capital financing fund pays for capital projects and debt service. I would like to remind everyone that the property tax rate is the primary revenue source that is controllable by the board, and it is the only significant way to raise additional revenue in future years. While the recommended rate for the upcoming fiscal year increases 3 cents, future tax rate increases may also be necessary to support ongoing county goals, including our significant commitment to Durham Public Schools, to capital planning, and other initiatives. So looking at special tax districts, strong growth in property valuation across all of our special tax districts has allowed me to recommend no tax rate increase for any of them. In fact, the Durham County Fire and Rescue District, which covers the RTP area, is requesting a 1 cent property tax rate decrease. I will note that the value and the valuation of a strong and vibrant local economy cannot be overstated. Looking now at sales tax, the total amount of budgeted sales tax revenue for next fiscal year is $128 million. For perspective, this is the equivalent to 25 cents of property tax revenue. Sales tax revenue is our second largest revenue source, and it is entirely related to economic activity. The estimated current year sales tax collection is expected to come in well above budget. In fact, it is expected to increase 17% over what was originally budgeted. That overcollection for the current fiscal year, plus estimated growth in sales tax for next year, equals a $21.8 million increase, or 20.5% increase in sales tax revenue. It should be noted that $8.4 million of that increase goes to the capital financing fund by board policy, while $13.4 million helps many different general fund initiatives. An estimated 5% growth in sales tax collection revenue for next fiscal year is relatively conservative and reflects the unknown consequences of any economic downturn. So continuing to look at revenue, other revenue sources of note for the upcoming year based on current trending include an increase of $3 million in the Medicaid hold harmless funds to an estimated total of $12 million collected, a decrease of $1 million in Register of Deeds fees due to higher mortgage loan interest rates, which caused a downturn in house buying within the county. And directly related to the problem that caused a reduction in the Register of Deeds fees, the higher interest rates on cash accounts translates into a positive for the county due to an increase in our investment revenue. And now let's look at ARPA. As it relates to ARPA, or the American Rescue Plan Act funds, Durham County will expend nearly $63 million in ARPA funds over the next several years. These dollars will support the public health and economic recovery efforts resulting from the coronavirus pandemic. These resources will allow infrastructure investments which are essential for the community's growth and viability. So after much deliberation, including community input, staff feedback, and board discussions, a spending framework was adopted by the Board of County Commissioners that aligns with the U.S. Treasury spending guidelines as well as the board's strategic plan. The spending framework and plan supports transformative, equitable, and evidence-based investment. The recommended budget includes a $3.26 million allocation of ARPA funds to support general fund needs, with additional allocations occurring in future months through our request for proposal process. So while the general fund is where the vast majority of daily activity and spending for government services occurs, there are a number of other funds that serve specific county financial and operational purposes. These include the already mentioned Special Tax District, the Debt Service Fund, as well as the Sewer Utility Fund. The total county budget, including all of these funds, increases 12% to just under $890 million, while the general fund, which is a subset of that total amount, increases 9.6% to $601 million. Some examples of increases in the general fund include compensation support for Durham County employees, increased Durham Public School funding, pre-K expansion, increased funding for DTCC, ARPA support in the general fund, the creation of new positions, opioid settlement funding, and a maintenance contract for the detention center. To support some of these increases, there were reductions totaling $2.5 million in general fund operations. And I just mentioned this budget does include new positions, and the previous slide reflected a need of $3 million for those new positions. However, I think it is important to note that the number of new positions this year compared to previous years has dropped considerably. With ongoing high vacancy rates, the long-term cost of positions, and limited available space for additional personnel, I felt it is important that we find ways to reallocate existing human resources before we look at expanding our workforce. Efficiency gains and effective application of existing positions can help slow unnecessary expenditure growth for future budgets. In recent board retreats and conversations, the main priority expressed by our commissioners has been education. This budget recommendation reflects that priority, with Durham Public Schools continuing to be the single largest expenditure for Durham County government at $188 million, or 33% of the entire general fund budget. The recommended funding level in this budget matches the full request made by DPS, and it largely supports salary increases for certified and classified personnel. This funding includes a current expense increase of $10.8 million, which equates to a per pupil funding increase of $289 to $4,650 per student, which is nearly a 7% increase. Additionally, The county provides approximately $58 million in indirect support for DPS through a number of different programs and departments. Also, DPS will be receiving significant federal COVID-related funding over the next several years, up to $136 billion. This federal funding support will go a long way towards supporting student needs coming out of the pandemic. This recommended budget demonstrates the county's continued unwavering commitment to funding education. Another integral part of Durham County's support for education and workforce training is funding for Durham Technical Community College. This higher educational system provides a myriad of services, degrees, and opportunities that either continue education after high school and towards college, or towards a high-paying, stable, and lifelong career. Total funding for DTCC increases almost $2 million, or 20%. Of that increase, $520,000 is for Durham student scholarships, designated through board policy, that allocates a portion of sales tax dollars collected. A total of $2.4 million of total county funding to DTCC is for Durham student scholarships. Like Durham Public Schools, additional county funding is being allocated to support salary increases, along with additional position support. New positions are focused on improving the school-to-work pipeline needed to support the talent demand of the growing number of businesses in the county, and especially those located in RTP. DTCC will continue to provide a pipeline of trained workers for technical jobs with continued funding of $500,000 for the DTCC Back to Work initiative, as well as the Bulls initiative. As companies have chosen to locate in Durham, discussions have been among DTCC and various economic development groups, as well as the county, around how we can help companies meet these increasing workforce demands. These programs being offered by DTCC will help provide and enhance the skills of local residents so they are able to get these jobs and keep these jobs. To put it in context, more jobs filled by local workers means more dollars in the local economy, which means a more vibrant and thriving economy for all of Durham's residents. Additionally, the goal of this board has been to reach universal pre-K for all Durham County children. This budget reflects the county's support of an increase of over $1 million for pre-K. This additional funding will expand Durham pre-K by serving up to 100 additional children. The estimated cost of universal pre-K support across the county is more than $25 million annually. In total, the county is funding education with over $207 million between Durham Public Schools, Durham Technical Community College, and pre-K. I will state this emphatically. Our board has and continues to seek ways to expand opportunities for residents through the continued support of education, and we thank you for that support. This recommended budget funds several efforts to enhance community prosperity. Cooperative Extension will oversee a second year of food security grants. I am recommending $532,000 to support food security efforts to assist Durham County's most vulnerable residents. Additionally, the board specifically asked what was needed by the Department of Veteran Services to better support the needs of our large veteran population within the county. Lois Harvin Raven, Director of Veteran Services, answered honestly and said, as much as you all can afford to give the department. So to that end, I am recommending an additional Veteran Services officer who will assist with expanding outreach to the 11,500 veterans who need help accessing VA benefits and other services. Also, to bolster community safety, the Sheriff's Office is working to mitigate the increasing incidences of co-occurring mental health and substance use disorders for persons who are detained through the Medication Assisted Treatment Program. To support this vulnerable population, I am recommending a dedicated medical director to manage all detention center programs related to opioid treatment and medication-assisted treatment. I am also recommending funding a detention center maintenance contract, which will provide preventative maintenance and repairs, consolidating services that are currently spread out between other county departments and separate vendor contracts. Also, for community safety, a new Deputy Chief Fire Marshal position is recommended to provide increased inspections as statutorily mandated. As mentioned earlier, there has been an increase in the number of individuals who are entering the county detention facility with mental health and behavioral health needs. As a result, I am recommending funding in the newly renamed Justice Services Department, formerly known as CJRC, for additional psychiatric services in the detention center. I am also excited about the efforts to establish a Familiar Faces initiative, which identifies persons showing up in multiple systems like the detention facilities, homeless shelters, and emergency departments in order to provide more targeted care. In addition, the county's new youth home is nearly completed. This budget supports opening of the facility to transition current operations and support a new assessment center. Lastly, I am recommending funding to expand the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council's annual award amount, which supports high-risk juveniles. This funding will be used to support expansion of services that significantly reduce risk factors leading to educational difficulties, juvenile crime, and community safety concerns. Related to community stewardship, the Sewer Utility Division, an enterprise fund agency that fully supports its cost through fees charged to customers, is adding 4 new positions. 2 of those positions will ensure adequate 24/7 coverage of the plant, while the other positions will provide additional maintenance at the treatment plant and pump station. Also, sewer consumption rates will increase 10% to address anticipated operational and capital costs, which ensure our high level of operational readiness and environmental protection. The Stormwater and Erosion Control Division, which is another enterprise fund, has 2 new recommended positions, a public education specialist and a stormwater and erosion control technician. I am following the recommendation of the stormwater plan, which was presented several years ago, by including an increase in the stormwater utility fee. This is the department's primary revenue source. That fee will increase from $48 to $64 per equivalent residential unit. The rate increase is one step in a larger approach to eventually increase the fee to $96 per unit by fiscal year 2026. As a reminder, these charges are the cost of complying with the Falls Lake and Jordan Lake state requirements, which is a nutrient management strategy to restore water quality in the lakes by reducing the amount of pollution entering upstream. As we have seen, the opioid epidemic, which was exacerbated by COVID-19, continues to negatively affect families and communities across Durham County. As part of the historic $37 billion opioid settlement, the county will receive $11+ million over the next 18 years. A portion of that settlement amount, $400,000, is recommended to fund the Community Linkages to Care Support Program. This was developed to connect individuals who are struggling with substance use disorder with comprehensive, evidence-based care. Also, to help improve community well-being, I am recommending a 5-year, $750,000 partnership with the Duke Endowment for Healthy People, Healthy Carolinas. This partnership will fund a health education specialist to develop a community-wide coalition designed to establish equitable strategies to address physical activity, nutrition, and food access, all with a focus on addressing the effects of racism and other social barriers on the health of our most vulnerable population. Now to note other priorities addressed in this recommended budget. It has been a goal of mine to bridge the gap between Durham County government and the valuable voices of our residents. To that end, I am very excited to recommend the county's first Office of Engagement. This office will work with the Office of Strategy and Performance, as well as the Public Information Office, to establish a vibrant community engagement initiatives. As an engagement manager, will lead in establishing Durham County's first engagement strategy. And this position is expected to build lasting internal and external stakeholders relationships. There will also be a data analyst position that will provide analytic support to the community engagement effort. My expectation is that we will begin to see the impact of this higher level of community engagement on our decisions as Durham County progresses forward. Other new positions recommended in the budget include a new administrative assistant in the clerk to the board's office, as well as a new paralegal position in the county attorney's office. With the next presidential election scheduled to take place in 2024, election integrity and security will be of paramount importance. A new Board of Elections facility opening in the upcoming fiscal year will provide enhanced security and a centralized warehouse for equipment and staff. To provide support for this new facility, I am recommending 2 new positions: a public outreach specialist, as well as an elections specialist who will respond to the increasing number of customer inquiries we receive. For our IS&T department, I have included an ARPA broadband manager who will oversee broadband infrastructure programs and operations for the underserved communities. Additionally, a senior financial business analyst will serve as the subject matter expert for large enterprise financial applications. This in-house expertise is critical as we begin to move towards a new or upgraded ERP system. And now, for key dates that you can mark on your calendar. Budget work sessions will begin on Tuesday, May 16th, and this is where we will provide an overview of the budget and the environment in which it was built. Another work session is scheduled for May 24th to begin the review of departmental budgets in earnest. Monday, May 22nd, the board will hold a public hearing for this proposed budget as part of the regularly scheduled meeting. Additional work sessions are scheduled for June 1st and June 5th. And if another work session is needed, we have reserved the date of June 6th to hold that work session. And then finally, budget adoption is planned for June 12th. Woo-hoo-hoo. And so now that I have spent a little over a year on the job, looking at how we can reorganize the organization, re-energizing the leadership team, and working towards comprehensive solutions, It is my sincere belief that this budget reflects a continuation of the necessary strategies that will make Durham County an even higher performing organization. Our management team looks forward to the upcoming board work sessions and the many great outcomes that Durham County community will experience through the dynamic programs and services delivered out of this budget. I said it last year, and I am happy to say it again. Every visitor, every student, every county resident, every employee, every business has a stake in the development of the many services that make up not just a fiscal year, but that make up a thriving environment for people to live, grow, and thrive in Durham County. With that, I conclude this presentation of the manager's recommended budget for the 2023-24 fiscal year. I look forward to working with the board to get our budget adopted. Thank you all so much for your time and your attention this evening.
We give our manager another hand, please. All right. That is some awesome, incredible work that has already been done. So, Commissioners, we are down to our consent agenda. We have, starting with 230291, down to down to 23-033. Are there any items that commissioners wish to pull? Commissioner Burns.
Chair Houghton, I'm gonna pull a Commissioner Jacobs. So I don't want to pull it, but I do think it's worth highlighting. This board, actually, for those of you all who did not see the news, 3 people on this board before me, along with 2 people here, actually did. We got the site shovel ready, and we are now opening up 300 and 500 East Main Street, which is now 115, I think, Queen. So I did want to highlight 23-0332. So I know we just went over the budget. Cities usually do affordable housing, counties don't. Well, I want you all to know that on top of us going out doing a ribbon cutting for a parking deck, on top of us going out and digging a really nice hole for 110 apartments, the chair, vice chair, along with the mayor, we're partnering, if you all don't see on 23-0332, on a joint city-county affordable housing initiative that will bring an additional 1,200 units. I just wanted to elevate that on the budget night and also on the eve of, Commissioner Howerton and Wendy and Heidi having the forethought in 2020 to build some affordable housing. So we talked about the budget, but I wanted to highlight that investment. So on top of the 110, this project should bring in another 1,200. So this board, on top of the budget, is trying to bring in 1,300 more units of additional housing. Just wanted to highlight.
We're gonna pull this if y'all keep talking.
I'm done. I was done. That's it.
You know,
That's it.
1 second.
'Cause we have so many people, but we have a captive audience.
So-
but no, Chair Howerton, you and I, last week a lot of people don't come here. They haven't seen you do the state of this county. They haven't seen the manager talk. They came in here to see if they was gonna get a raise and
So
see if they
we can-
project.
So we can pull it?
How did they know that?
Okay, we can pull it and put it at the bottom of the agenda if you like.
I'm good.
Okay? All right. So can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Thank you. Been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
I guess.
Motion passes 5-0. But if you'd like me to pull it, we can do that. Okay. All right.
I just want to pile on to Commissioner Burns, just to also note, we have now, did we vote to approve? Okay. That besides that item, I do want to highlight item 03333.
Wendy, are we pulling
as
these?
well.
Are we
Nope.
pulling it?
Nope, just want to
Okay.
highlight that as another opportunity to preserve existing affordable housing and add
Okay.
to it. Thank you.
So now we're going to move on to our public hearing. We've got several public hearings tonight. The first one is 22-0285. Public hearing zoning map change, 4000 Sandcar Way, Z 2200053. The board is requested to conduct a public hearing and receive public comments on the revised zoning map change of 44,000 Sandcar Way and adopt two motions. We have Alex here from the planning department to discuss this item.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Howerton, Vice Chair Jacobs, and the rest of the commissioners. Thank you for having me this evening. Aaron Kane with the Planning Department. Before we begin, staff would like to state for the record that all Planning Department hearing items tonight have been advertised and noticed in accordance with state and local law, and affidavits for all notices are on file with the Planning Department. This case before you is a change to the zoning designation for one parcel of land in Research Triangle Park totaling 4.547 acres and located at 4000 Sandcar Way. The current zoning is office institutional. The applicant proposes to change this designation to Science Research Park Center, SRPC, to allow for future Research Triangle science research uses, and to bring the parcel into consistency with surrounding RTP properties. There is no development plan with this rezoning. As such, it is considered a general rezoning. Properties are currently designated commercial and recreation open space on the future land use map. The proposed Science Research Park Center zoning is consistent with this designated future land use. The Planning Commission recommended approval by a vote of 8-0 at its April 11th, 2023 meeting. As a reminder, two motions are required to approve the zoning map change. The first is to adopt the zoning ordinance, and the second is to adopt a consistency statement. Thank you for your time this evening. In addition to myself, Scott Levitan and Travis Creighton of Research Triangle Foundation are here to answer questions should you have them.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Commissioner Alum?
Yeah, it's just a very quick clarification question. So this zoning allows for housing it could allow for up to 50 residential units, but they're not going to use that.
There is no plan at this time or no commitment to do that at this time.
Good.
And I'm sorry, I did read the information, but I just missed your report. I'm sorry. But
No worries.
what is the existing, is that the hub RTP?
It is within Hub RTP.
Okay.
There is an existing office building on the site, and there's no planned changes to that. This simply brings that into the same zoning as the
Okay.
rest of the surrounding hub.
Okay. But I just would want to note that if there was residential, that would still be consistent with what we're trying to do at the hub RTP. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions for staff? There's no questions for staff. I will open the public hearing. Any speakers online?
No, ma'am, we have no speakers.
Okay. Anyone audience signed up? No one to speak?
No, ma'am.
Okay. If not, I will close the public hearing, bring it back to report. And if there are any questions from this board? Okay. Then I will ask for a motion.
I would make a motion to adopt an ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinance by taking property out of the office and institutional OI zoning district and establishing the same as the Science Research Park dash Center SRP-C.
Second.
Second.
Moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. And then we have a second motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the appropriate consistency statement as required per North Carolina General Statute 160D-605.
Need a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. We will move on to the next public hearing, 22-0315. Public hearing and ordinance to amend the Durham Unified Development Ordinance for improving access and walkability. The board is requested to conduct a public hearing and receive public comments on the Unified Development Ordinance, text amendment, improving access and walkability, TC 2100007, and adopt two motions. We have Brooke, senior planner, here to discuss this item with us.
Good evening, Chair Howerton, Vice Chair Jacobs, and honorable commissioners. Hello, Brooke Roper with the City County Planning Department. The Improving Access and Walkability text amendment is a change to the Unified Development Ordinance initiated by Planning Commission with the goal of making a more connected community. The Durham Planning Commission initiated the amendment during the summer of 2021 and formed a subcommittee to put a draft amendment forward. At the July 2021 Planning Commission meeting, commissioners unanimously passed a resolution to initiate what was formerly called the block length text amendment. Over 2022, planning staff have carried out research to create a draft amendment that has gone through numerous revisions by other city and county staff, along with members of the Durham Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. The draft was also shared on the Growth Management Social Pinpoint site for a 2-month engagement period, which was followed by further amendment adjustments based on what we've heard. To achieve the goal of making a more connected community, the amendment proposes various rules for developers, which would limit the length of streets and promote more pedestrian connections to nearby existing networks. The amendment includes updates to existing connectivity ratio, which is the street lengths divided by nodes, that ensures developers are providing sufficient road and pedestrian networks within new developments and adequately connecting to adjacent areas. The amendment also includes a new block length component, which limits the allowed length of streets or street blocks that developers can build to help ensure our communities are built to human scale, closely connected, and walkable. The final draft was presented at JCC-PC on February 1st, 2023, where they unanimously agreed to send it forward through the public hearing process. At the February 28th Planning Commission meeting, the Commission recommended approval of TC 21/07 by a vote of 12-0. And on April 17th, 2023, City Council unanimously approved the amendment as well. Thank you. Staff are available for any questions.
Any questions for staff?
Thank you. Could you just clarify, this how does this impact like a single family dwelling in a residential area?
So this is for any new developments coming in that are proposing a new street network. So if it's, a private driveway, it wouldn't impact that single family.
Oh. That clarification. And I just want to follow up on one of the comments that one of the planning commissioners made, Commissioner Cease. Could you just clarify if anything was changed, related to the concerns that he pointed out?
Of course, yeah. So I believe the concern you're mentioning is to include a pedestrian mid-block access point. After we met with the Planning Commission, staff spoke internally and kind of weighed the pros and cons. And we had some internal discussion. We decided to keep the node definition as is and not include pedestrian mid-blocks access points as suggested, simply because our team believes that the way that the scoring matrix is currently set up, it's set up sufficiently to incentivize alternative modes of transportation, and specifically pedestrian facilities. If we were to include non-vehicular transportation modes into the node definition, we fear that it would complicate the connectivity ratio calculation when actually applying it to new proposals coming in. So therefore, we decided to keep it the same.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that you all did go back and look at that and work with the Planning Commission to address that. And did want to note that I was wondering if you feel like there are more things that may be looked at related to this issue of walkability and connectivity with the rewrite of the UDO, because I do want to note that this is addressing some of the goals, that are in the proposed comprehensive plan related to walkability and multimodal and safety, the 15-minute community kind of thing. But do you think that that this will get looked at further in the rewrite of the UDO?
Certainly, yes. This is, just, a first step, pun not intended, in the right direction. With the new comprehensive plan, there's many, many transportation-related goals. You mentioned the 15-minute walk, which, I think this text amendment really does a good job at addressing. But certainly there, with the UDO rewrite, we will continue to look at how we can better connect communities, prioritize those folks without access to a car, transit riders, people who walk and bike, etc.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And I'd like to just for the audience or for those that are listening, these things, most of us serve on the JCCPC committee, so we have discussed these items quite a bit already. So if you don't hear us asking a whole lot of questions, we've asked a whole lot of questions before now. So thank you. No questions for staff. I will open the public hearing. I have one person that signed up to speak. Are there any online?
There is no one signed up online.
Okay, I have John Talmadge signed up to speak.
He did say that he would get here late, so he may not be here yet. He's reached out to me to sign up early, just in case.
Okay, all right. Are there others? Anyone else? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing, bring this back to the board. And are there any other questions or concerns? Not, I will ask for a motion. You have another question, Commissioner Jacob?
I'm going to make a motion, but I just want to thank the staff and the Planning Commission, because this is something that actually came out of a Planning Commission subcommittee, And I believe it's the first time that the Planning Commission has actually been involved in creating an ordinance. So I just want to commend the Planning Commission for doing this, and then the staff for following up on it. And now we have this ordinance before us. So I just want to thank everyone and acknowledge the process. I also want to acknowledge, though, the extensive public comments about this issue. There were like 5 pages of comments, and basically people were saying, this is not enough. Like, we seriously need, more sidewalks, and we need, safe protected bike lanes, and we need safe crosswalks. And, so I just want to note, when I was asking about, Brooke, about the comp plan, I think we still have a long way to go on this issue. This is the first step, and recognizing we are really constrained also by what is defined as street standards in the state. We really need to make sure that having multimodal paths, safe protected bike um, and pedestrian lanes are implemented at the state level, allowed on state roads, and supported. So, and we need a sidewalk bond from the city because we don't have enough money to honestly implement everything that needs to be done. So just want to say I'm proud to make the motion to support this, and I look forward to more to come.
Need a second? No, just a second. Commissioner Jacobs, did you do the first motion? You didn't read it.
Thanks for catching that. I make a motion to adopt an ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinance, incorporating revisions to Section 13.6 Street Connectivity Requirements, 13.4 Block Standards, 12.3 Streets, and 12.2 Ingress and Egress Requirements, effective June 1st, 2023.
No, could you? Okay, thank you. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0, and we'll have a second motion.
I motion to adopt the appropriate consistency statement as required by NC General Statute 160.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. We have another public hearing, 22-0294, a public hearing, Durham County Transit Plan. The board is requested to hold a public hearing on the Durham County Transit Plan. This plan is scheduled to be adopted at the May 22nd, 23 regular session meeting. And we have Ellen Beckman, Transportation Manager, to discuss this item.
Good evening, Ellen Beckman, Durham County Transportation Manager. So you received a presentation at the May 1st work session. Not going to go over that today, but I'll just hit a few of the highlights. So we're very pleased and excited to present the final recommended transit plan for the public hearing and adoption then on May 22nd. The plan is required to be adopted by the Board of Commissioners, MPO Board, and Go Triangle Board. And this is the plan that establishes how we use the half-cent sales tax that's raised in Durham County and dedicated to public transit improvements. The sales tax was first approved in 2011 when we first adopted the plan. We readopted the plan in 2017, and this is the major plan update after the discontinuation of the light rail project in 2019. The plan includes roughly $1.1 billion for public transit improvements through 2040. So as you know, we've gone through a very extensive development process over the last 3 years, had a lot of public engagement and community involvement throughout the process, did a lot of equitable engagement using community partners, and the recommended plan is a direct outreach, result of that outreach. There are 4 key themes to the plan: improving the current bus system. So we heard overwhelmingly from bus riders that they wanted our current bus system to work better. So there's a lot of funding for increased frequency, evening and weekend bus service. We also heard that people wanted more projects sooner. So there's a lot of smaller wins and projects that we can complete more quickly while we're working towards bigger efforts. So things like bus stop improvements throughout the county, paratransit improvements, microtransit improvements. There's funding for connecting the region with quick and reliable service. So it's important to provide connectivity for Durham residents to job opportunities throughout the region, and for other people to reach the job opportunities in Durham. So a large portion of funding is set aside for those sorts of projects. Could be commuter rail or passenger rail, and it may also be bus rapid transit or other bus priority infrastructure. And then lastly, a better experience at bus stops and stations. So working on the downtown Durham station, regional transit center station, and all the bus stops in Durham. So those are the highlights of the plan. We were making a few final tweaks to the plan before it comes forward for adoption on May 22nd. And with that, we can open the public hearing. There's 31 pages of public comments, so while there may not be a lot of people here today, I think there was a lot of enthusiasm throughout the process and submitted electronically.
Thank you, Ellen. Questions for staff? Hearing none, I will open the public hearing. And I have one person signed up to speak. Are there others online?
No, ma'am, we do not have anyone else on the line.
I have Jim Savares. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening. Jim Savara, 12 Susanna Drive. As indicated in a transit statement adopted by the Coalition for Affordable Housing and Transit last April, we support the Durham Transit Plan and advocate for these funds, as well as funds from local sources, including Research Triangle Park, and from state and federal sources, to be used to achieve 2 vital goals: a substantial increase in our bus service and new passenger rail service providing links for Durham to the rest of the Triangle region for all residents, not just 9 to 5 commuters. And I like to say, as we have talked a lot about these proposals, and Ellen Beckman has been very informative at many of our meetings, we believe that equity requires that substantial new bus service and facilities must be provided to historically underserved areas. The transit plan funds improve bus service and facilities, including sheltered bus stops for all the economically transit-dependent neighborhoods. We commend the plan for these features. Because transit funding can only address the needs for sidewalk improvements within a short distance of a bus stop, we also call for the county and city governments to provide funding for sidewalks, bus stops, and bike lanes. Your discussion of improving walkability is very encouraging. In addition, we need connections to fast passenger rail transit to major jobs and activity centers in the region. All Durham residents should have ready access to the estimated 65% or more of the new jobs created regionally in the coming 20 years. Durham can help our region begin to provide the rail transit that is needed here and elsewhere in other metropolitan areas to address our climate change crisis. The rail project plans must confirm that all property along the rail line owned by Go Triangle or local governments will be utilized as much as possible for development of substantial new affordable housing units. Finally, the planning, design, and construction and operation of all new bus and rail services must be done in a way that is open, transparent, and responsive to our community as we have seen this process move forward. I would like to add a couple additional comments that the coalition has not yet approved. We recognize the need to develop passenger rail in stages. Whether the initial stage ends at RTP or the Ellis Road Station needs further planning and discussion. The Ellis Road Station is designated as a transit opportunity area in the new Durham Comprehensive Plan. And the area around it has great potential for new residential development that will be promoted by changes to the comprehensive plan. If waiting to extend the line to Ellis Road will permit residential growth in this area,
Jim, you need to wrap
increase
up. You need to
ridership-
wrap up your comments.
I'm sorry, and establish eligibility for federal funding, then waiting will be preferable.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Final remark, do not look for reasons to not do regional rail, look for ways.
You can pass your comments over to the clerk if you have more, and the clerk will pass them to us. Thank you. John Talmadge, you just walked in. You signed up to speak. If you have 3 minutes. Yes.
Good evening, commissioners. I am John Talmadge, live in Durham at 910 Virgie Street, and I'm executive director of Bike Durham, Durham's Sustainable Transportation Advocacy Organization. I want to point out that about 3/4 of the planned spending in the transit plans will go to improve the transit system for our current riders, and it will improve conditions for transit workers because there's money there committed to raise salaries so we can put more operators on the system, to grow the system, and to provide the service levels that have been funded the last couple of years. It's going to make the service more reliable. It promises to make trips shorter with new crosstown connections. It promises to make the trip from home to the bus stop and from the bus stop to the final destinations better, safer, with investments in the waiting areas at the stops, some of the access to the bus stops. It also is going to make, hopefully, it promises to make our paratransit system better for those riders through the study that's going to be done and money set aside to invest in improvements in the paratransit service. So we're thrilled with the focus of that 75, roughly, % of the budget that's dedicated to those. But a reminder that that's just a promise of those investments, both in services and projects, and it requires a dedication each year to the delivery of those promises for current riders in our community, and that takes an investment in of attention, of your attention, of the city's elected official attention, staff attention, and also the money to build the capacity of the organizations, not just in bus riders and mechanics, but also the staff that are going to build the sidewalks, build the shelters. As many of you know, I worked at Go Triangle, and in 2011, when Durham passed a bond, 2013, when we started collecting it, we had promises of a number of these types of projects. And we were very slow to deliver, and that's because our attention was diverted from those types of promises that would make the system better for locals, current riders, to a big project that we were never able to deliver. And so I want you to pay attention to the difficulty of delivering that big project and hopefully that the BRT study will be an opportunity to look at something that is more deliverable. Thank you.
Thank you, John. So, any other speakers? No other speakers? Thank you. I will close the public hearing and bring it back to this board. Are there questions or comments from the board? Commissioner Jacobs?
I just want to get a clarification. So, Ellen, this will come back to us for approval for a vote of consideration at the next meeting, May 22nd. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to be clear on that. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. No other questions or comments? Then I will ask for a motion. And here we have, do we need a motion on this one, Ellen?
In 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. So we leave the public hearing open. I still have to close the public hearing. I mean, I've closed the public hearing, and now it's back to us. So there's no other action needed, or do you need a motion?
You can close the public hearing.
I've closed the public hearing. So it's no other action, is what I'm saying. No other action needed.
No, ma'am,
Right.
there's no additional action needed.
No, not
Okay, great.
for tonight.
All right, that's what I was getting at. All right, thank you. And it'll come back to us on the 22nd.
Yes.
For action.
Yep.
Thank you. So the next item is 22-0294. It's a public hearing, Utilities Division Draft System Development Fee Analysis. And the board is requested to conduct a public hearing to receive comments on the Utilities Division Draft System Development Fees Analysis performed by Weldon Financial Services. Jay is not here. We have Stephanie, is that Drixley? Is she here, or is she online? To introduce the item.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I thought he was pointing his finger at Jesus. Oh, God. Pointing up. I'm sorry, our attorney was pointing up, and I was thinking he's pointing to God, okay. All right. Go ahead.
Okay, as long as y'all can hear me, that's the main thing.
I can hear you.
Okay, we are here to do the public hearing for the system development fee study. We are required by House Bill 436 to conduct this once every 5 years. We did a public comment period, but we did not receive any written comments. But we do have a presentation that Daryl Parker with Wildown Financial Services will go through, and then we can answer any questions you all may have. And then if there's anyone there to speak for the public hearing.
Hey, any questions for staff? Hearing none, I will open the public hearing. Anyone signed up to speak?
There's no one signed up to speak, but I believe they have their presentation to share before we open the public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Daryl Parker with Wildan. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
All right, great. Monica, I hear that you're going to be running the PowerPoint? Or would you prefer me to share?
I am running the PowerPoint. You just let me know when to click.
Okay. There's going to be a lot of clicks because I put in some animation effects just, for the look, but we'll get through it and move along as quickly as we can. First off, good evening. I know it's been a long night for all of you already, so we will move this along pretty quickly, but if you have any questions as we're going, feel free to stop me. So, all right, let's get going. Perfect. So, what we're here to talk about tonight is the system development fees, and they're addressed by a House bill from back in 2017. And so kind of what the bill did is it outlined procedures for calculating and for implementing the system development fees. And we'll talk a little bit more about exactly what those fees do and what they're for. This is specific to publicly owned utility systems such as your sewer system. Okay. So basically, what a system development fee is, and we'll call it SDF to just make it a little easier, a little shorter. So it's a fee that's imposed on new development, and it's to fund water and sewer improvements. Here again, we're looking just at your sewer system tonight, both existing and planned facilities, and we'll talk more about that. And facilities that are necessitated by and attributable to the new development. Okay. Oh, okay, there we go. So just kind of a general description. An SDF is a one-time fee that's applied to new system customers. And when we calculate these, we calculate them separate for water and sewer as required by the bill. Here again, we're just talking about your sewer system tonight. Recovers costs incurred to provide system capacity to new users. And it does help growth pay for itself. Biggest benefit is it protects your existing system customers. It kind of mitigates the possibility of them having to pay for new facilities that are really only there to support new growth. Okay, Monica. So there's 3 different calculation methodologies, and these are right out of American Water Works Association manuals, as well as the Water Environment Federation manuals, which is the wastewater equivalent to the AWWA. But they both have the exact same processes and methodologies. So the buy-in is the first method we looked at, and what the buy-in does, it looks at just what you've already got, the facilities that you've already built to provide service, treatment facilities, collection lines, force mains, that kind of thing. And then there's also the incremental cost method, and the incremental cost method looks at the future facilities, your capital improvements program. So what are we having to build over the next 5 to 20 years to support growth? And then there's the combined method, which is really just kind of a weighted average, if you will, of the other two combined together. Okay, Mark. So the House bill did put procedures in place. Just basically, the analysis has to be done by a financial professional. That's our role. Must employ generally accepted industry practices. It looks at least a 5-year planning horizon for the incremental cost method, but no more than 20 years. Once the analysis is done and the report is done, it has to be posted online for 45 days for public comment. And as Stephanie mentioned, we're through that 45-day posting period, and there were no comments. Public hearing is required, which is exactly why we're here tonight. If there were any modifications to the analysis as a result of either public comment or the public hearing, that would take place. The fees must be adopted by a resolution or ordinance and must be updated at least every 5 years. And that's where we are now. You currently have SDFs in place for the sewer system. They were adopted 5 years ago, and it's time for them to be updated. Okay, Monica. So just real quick, these are the facilities that we're looking to recover from an SDF. As I mentioned earlier, treatment, collection, force mains, lift stations, disposal facilities. What we're not recovering are things like localized lines in the neighborhoods and that type of thing, or anything that's contributed by developers or grant funded. So you'll see, we'll just kind of briefly touch on some of the adjustments that are made to the calculations, but you'll see those as we move along. Okay. So really what we're trying to identify here is our recoverable costs. I mentioned there's the buy-in method that looks at the existing facilities, the incremental cost method looks at the CIP, and then the combined. So we've looked at all these separately. What we're recommending tonight is the results of the combined methodology. Okay. So here's kind of a visual. So we've got them separated, the buy-in, the incremental cost, and we combine those costs. It gives us a total recoverable. Now, then there are adjustments made to those recoverable amounts. There's a debt service credit that's applied to the existing facilities. And what that does is whatever outstanding debt is currently on the system, we back out the remaining principal balance on that debt with the thought basically that we don't want a new customer paying an SDF and then paying their rates that include the payment of your annual debt service requirements. So we make an adjustment for that, so we net that down. And then the House bill also requires an adjustment to the CIP. So we've made that adjustment as well. So the total recoverable less the debt service and CIP credits gives us our net recoverable facility costs. From that is how we calculate the fees. So here's, yeah, go ahead. You're good, Monica. So here's just kind of the numbers that result there. You may recall from a couple slides back the combined 229 million. We back out the combined credits, and so we have our net recoverable costs. Okay, Monica. So once we've got those net costs, we want them separated between the treatment facilities and the collection facilities. And we've already got our data separated. The existing assets, as part of our analysis, we've separated those. And same with the CIP, we've separated those. And so then the reason we do that is because treatment facilities and collection facilities don't have the same capacity. So basically, we take that net cost for treatment, divide it by the treatment capacity, and that gives us a cost per gallon of treatment capacity. Do the exact same process on the collection side, and so now we've got our cost components per gallon of capacity. Okay, Monica. And here's what those numbers look like. So basically what we're doing is taking the treatment and dividing it, the net treatment cost divided by the treatment capacity. Now these capacity numbers are adjusted for example, inflow and infiltration, that impacts the sewer system, that reduces the amount of capacity that's available to new customers. But we won't go into the detail of that. But what we're ultimately doing here is we're looking to identify that cost per gallon of capacity. And you can see the treatment facilities are, as you might expect, quite a bit more costly than the collection facilities. And then on a combined basis, it's the 1669. So then what do we do with those numbers? Go ahead, Monica. So we've got our cost per gallon of capacity, and then we apply it to a level of service per equivalent residential unit. That's what ERU is. Basically just your typical household. So the state has a number of 240 gallons per day minimum. That's based on 120 gallons per day per bedroom, but their minimum requirement is 2 bedrooms. So that's where the 240 comes from. So we take our cost multiplied times our equivalent residential unit level of service and gives us our SDF per ERU. Go ahead, Monica. So here's what those numbers look like. You can see in the note there, we round them down because don't want to be accused of over recovering. So the fees that you see kind of under the existing, right in the middle, that's your current SDF per ERU. It's and we've assumed here that a typical ERU is going to be a 3-bedroom house. So it's the minimum 2-bedroom plus each additional bedroom. And so you can see those where under the column, what we're referring to as calculated, those are the fees that have resulted from the analysis. And we're calling it calculated as opposed to proposed because that's the number that we can support. Even though we might recommend that you go for the full cost recovery, you don't have to. You can come in at some lesser number if you want, but we just can't back up anything higher than this number. And you can see the difference between the two. If you go from the current fee to the calculated fee, it'd be a noticeable increase in your SDFs, which would also result in a noticeable increase in your revenues for those capital projects. Okay, Monica. So this is how your fees are currently applied, and we discussed this with Stephanie and her team, and it was determined that we'd stick with the same methodology because it's by type of customer, and so we use the calculated numbers to come up with those resulting fees for all those different options. And with that, we can jump ahead and see if there are any questions or comments.
Mr. Jacob?
Well, I first want to thank you for the presentation, very thorough, and appreciate this work. Just to note, I guess it's quite a big difference. We've been dramatically undercharging. It sounds like is what the result is. And I didn't realize that we actually updated this every 5 years. So this is a really big increase. So I'm glad we do update it every 5 years. Thank you.
Okay. No questions for staff? Okay, then. Do I need to open the public hearing? Are there any speakers online? No one signed up? to
Correct.
speak?
No one has signed up to speak, and we do not have anyone online.
Okay, thank you. So we will close the public hearing and bring it back to this board. Are there any questions from commissioners? Hearing none, I will ask for a motion.
Chair Howerton, there is no motion.
There is no motion, so there is no action needed. I don't see, I'm looking here, that no action needed on this item either.
No, ma'am.
Okay, then we will move on to our next item.
Madam Manager, will this increased fee be included in when we adopt the budget?
It goes to our budget.
It will be included as a part of the.
Okay, thank you.
Goes on to the budget approval. The other business, the board is requested to receive information on the following documents: the MEG study report, proposed pay plan, and at this time we have Kathy Everett Perry, our Chief Human Resource Officer, to introduce this item for any additional comment.
Good afternoon, Chair Howerton, Commissioners, Manager Sowell, Attorney Andrews. Monica, do we have the consultant ready? So we're going to have the consultant from Management Advisory Group, Dr. Russell Campbell, lead this presentation.
Good evening, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to come back and share with you the results of the compensation classification study we've been working on for the past 5-6 months or so. When I was there last time, one of the things we talked about was moving forward with developing a compensation philosophy. I, in turn, provided some resources to the HR staff, and I believe at your retreat, they took you through an exercise of explaining what a compensation philosophy is designed to address, its impact and importance to the organization. And so I was pleased to see that the organization did a very good job of developing the outline of a compensation philosophy that I think is consistent with the goals and objectives that were part of the compensation classification study. So what I'd like to do tonight is just highlight some of the findings and recommendations from the study. I think you've been given some of this information in your packet, so I won't go through exhaustive detail. I'll just hit the major points as I go through each slide. First slide, please. With respect to a compensation philosophy, obviously the goal is to help with retention, recruitment of employees to the organization. Major advantages associated with having a philosophy is probably the biggest thing is that it gives information to the employees so they're not left trying to figure out how the values were determined for different positions with the organization. What can they expect in terms of a promotion increase? Should they be promoted to a job in a higher salary band, as well as whether they're transferred or they make a reclassification request? All those things are part of philosophy, and they're spelled out in black and white, which cuts down on confusion and misunderstanding within the organization. It also echoes a sense of fairness and equity within the organization, serves as a good recruiting tool because it does have the stamp of the leadership within the organization, both at commission level as well as the administrative level. And it serves as a good tool for career progression as well as professional development, particularly in ranked departments where you want individuals internally to step up and apply for higher level positions within the organization. You want to make sure there's commensurate compensation to go along with that higher level of responsibility. Next slide. If it's not done well, a compensation philosophy can create some internal strife within the organization. It has to make sense to everyone involved, employees, leaders, constituents. There needs to be a strong commitment to address inequity issues within the organization. It needs to support recruitment, retention, as I previously said, and also it needs to support career development. Next. Major factors that go into consideration when you develop a philosophy, of course, you got to define your labor market and define what your position is going to be in that labor market. One of the things I'll share with you here in this presentation are the organizations that served as comparables or peer organizations. That list was mutually developed by MAG and the HR staff, as well as input from leadership. We went into this thing wanting to position the county at the 75th percentile as it relates to compensation. Typically, we found that if you can reach the 75th percentile, where you're paying better than 75% of your peer group, then you should be able to compete across the board with respect for new employees on the recruiting side, as well as retain existing skilled employees within the organization. So as I unveil the new compensation plan, it will be built on the premise of getting you to the 75th percentile of the regional labor market. Other things that need to be considered, your pay for performance program. Going forward, we'd like to see you increase the potential rates in terms of what a top performing employee could receive, because in addition to making sure that the values of the positions are competitive, we also want to make sure actual salaries of current incumbents are around that 75th percentile as well. So it's important that moving forward, since the majority of the increases are going to be tied to performance, that those increases will sustain your current position, assuming the study is adopted at that 75th percentile. And we've also developed some other policies to support the study that specifically speak to compensation administrative guidelines in terms of hiring, transfers, reclassification requests, promotion policies, to make sure there's consistency going forward with respect to how those things are handled. We've also put together a pay structure that is an open range structure where every job is assigned to a pay grade. Every pay grade has a range that has a minimum, which is indicative of the entry-level salary, the midpoint, which is derived based on the market average, and then the top-end value for a position at this given point in time. And we've also provided instruction and guidelines to the staff in terms of maintaining the study until it's time to do a comprehensive study down the road in the next 4, maybe 5 years. Next slide. These are the 12 cities and counties that were mutually agreed to by staff and MAG to serve as peer organizations with respect to collecting organizational and pay information from. We have, of course, the City of Durham, City of Raleigh, Greensboro, City of Winston-Salem counties. We have Charlotte-Mecklenburg, Wade County, Forsyth County, Guilford County, Cumberland County, Buncombe County, Orange County, and Gaston County. And then at the bottom there, you see ONET. We must take in consideration as well what's being paid in the private sector for comparable jobs. So we did access private sector data through the Federal Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics, so we could get information on what's being paid in the marketplace, for example, for skilled crafts like electricians, plumbers, IT personnel, drivers, secretarial staff, as well as other administrative and operational positions. And as I said, all this was done with the mindset of getting you to the 75th percentile. Next slide. Talking about your pay for performance, I know the HR staff will be looking to bring to the commission some recommendations with respect to going forward with the intervals in terms of the actual increases for pay for performance down the road based on the 5 different performance levels: outstanding, exceeds expectation, meets expectations, needs improvement, and unacceptable. Based on what we've seen of what the staff is proposing, it looks very realistic and does reflect what we've seen in the public and private sector in terms of potential increases based on pay for performance in the marketplace. It's important that we make sure that the pay for performance increases maintain the county's position within the marketplace based on the results of the study, so that we can reward high achieving employees within the organization. Next slide. Just a couple of policy comments in respect to going forward and how we manage the compensation system. When there's a need to reclassify jobs, at a minimum, someone should receive an adjustment of 5%, and then 2.5% for each additional grade if they're going upward in terms of a multiple grade increase, but it's capped at 10%. So the most any individual could receive from a reclassification request would be 10%. The same holds true for promotion, baseline of 5%, and then based on the number of grades they're promoted into will dictate the total amount of increase, and usually that matches what you do for the reclassification process. So that should be in line with around 10%. And keep in mind, there will always be extenuating circumstances where you may have to make some adjustments, but the system is set up to be flexible and to allow the HR staff to make adjustments to deal with certain situations that may come about. We also talked about pay for interim appointments, getting the individuals who are going to go into these interim appointments, make sure that they acknowledge that it is temporary until told otherwise by signing a statement acknowledging as such, and their pay will be adjusted to reflect the fact that they are in an interim position by considering what the previous incumbent was made, as well as what the pay grade and pay range recommended in the study has in mind for the value of the job. Next one. Hiring, typically you want to hire individuals that have experience, particularly when it comes to technical, middle and upper management jobs, so that the learning curve is not as steep. And in order to do that, you have to pay somewhat of a premium when you hire people with extensive experience. Based on what we put together, we're recommending that you take in consideration a maximum of 5 years of comparable previous experience in terms of setting the salary for a new hire. And again, that should fall in line with the requirements that we've recommended for reclassification requests, as well as promotions with that cap of somewhere around 10%. Next slide, please. The pay structure we've developed two pay structures. We've developed one for public safety, which just has the public safety sworn positions in it. And then everyone else who's not a part of the sworn position in public safety was assigned to the unified pay structure. Both pay structures have a range spread from minimum to max of 70% going horizontally. They have a 5% increment between grades when you go vertically. And we found that was consistent with what we were seeing with some of the market peers, those 12 cities and counties that I pointed out earlier. The last time the study was done, we actually had 3 separate pay plans. We had a separate plan for senior management positions, but after talking with HR and leadership, we decided that it made more sense from an ease of administration in terms of managing the different pay plans and to make sure that everyone's position was treated fairly and equitably. We felt it made more sense to go from 3 down to 2 plans, that being a unified and then one for the public safety sworn positions within the organization. It's easier to manage. It makes sure that there's internal equity in terms of how jobs are grouped and salary ranges are presented for the jobs based on their duties, responsibilities, as well as their qualifications. And what we're trying to do is to develop a process where there's not so much pressure placed on HR to reclassify jobs. I think in some instances in the past, reclassification requests were based more on a desire to reward a deserving employee, more so than the job from a contextual standpoint actually changed. And so reclassification should be triggered by a contextual change to the job, not an increase in volume of work or a performance issue that should be recognized through the annual performance review and the pay for performance program. Next slide. In terms of maintaining the system, the pay ranges will need to be adjusted on an annual basis, starting in July of 24. We recommend using the ECI Employment Cost Index, which is published by the Federal Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics. That particular index takes in consideration the cost of benefits and salaries from an increased perspective from that of the employer. You can also use the CPI Consumer Price Index as an alternative instrument in terms of determining what the annual adjustment is going to be to the pay ranges. I will add, whatever you decide to do in terms of a general increase or a cost of living increase, let's say July 24, you wanted to do 4%, you would only need to adjust the pay ranges by 2 or 2.5%, but give current staff the full 4% COLA. By doing that, you, again, mitigate salary compression because current staff would be the beneficiary of the full 4%, and the pay ranges, which impacts more new hires than it does existing staff. Because we have gotten you to that 75th percentile, you don't have to be as aggressive with the pay range adjustment themselves. So 50% of whatever you decide to do for a general increase or a COLA would be applied to the pay ranges. So if you did 4% COLA, you'd only adjust the ranges by 2 or 2.5% going forward. And individual salaries of those already on staff would be adjusted by the full 4%. Next slide. There have been lots of conversations around the country about moving to a livable wage. In Durham, you do have a livable wage ordinance. Probably the most recognized data source for livable wages is the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, which has been publishing the cost of living in various parts of the country based on family size, single, 2 adults with kids, etc. We have built a structure moving you to the 75th percentile, which means the lowest paid position within the county, whether it be full-time or part-time, would be $9.22 per hour, which we think is a significant leap forward, not only within the county, but for an employer in the region. I would suggest that going forward that you tie the livable wage ordinance to the consumer price index so that it increases each year by whatever the CPI is as published by the Federal Department of Labor, so that it will gradually increase going forward. Many of the organizations that we deem to be progressive organizations who have implemented livable wage ordinance have tied it to the consumer price index to make sure that they stay competitive with the cost of living. So we recommend that you index that to the CPI index each year, which you wouldn't need to worry about until July of 2024. Next slide, please. Here's a breakdown of the cost by department of the study. Also included in this slide, you see the total number of employees in each department. And to the right, you see the total budget amount, which is going to impact 1,876 employees. The approximate cost to implement the study is roughly $9.8 million. That includes giving every employee a 7% general increase to make sure actual salaries, again, are competitive, to make sure there's a hedge against the inflation, which is still, by historical standards, still a little higher than we've typically seen it over the last couple of decades. And so at a minimum, no one would get less than 7% as it relates to the study. Some will get more than that based on how their actual position fell out within the analysis. But as it stands right now, the cost to implement the study is $9.8 million. You'll see that some of the larger departments like the Sheriff's Office, DSS, as well as Public Health, you'll see some significant costs there. Tax Administration had some fairly significant costs there, so did County Engineering. But it's a good distribution throughout the county. As expected, the larger departments, because they have more people, are going to take a larger slice of that 9.8. But every department is impacted as it relates to the study and creating new competitive pay ranges throughout. Next slide.
Okay, I think we'll open it up now for questions.
We'd like to clarify that one slide on the living wage is $19.22 for those who didn't have access to a slide.
I thought I saw it was $18.
Thank you so much, Chair Harrington. Thank you all for this presentation and the intentionality around this. I know this is very important to our board, making sure that all our Durham County's employees feel appreciated and valued. I had a question around like the salary bands, just wondering like around the transparency. I know with the part that you were mentioning about the experience levels, how that'll impact the starting salary. For transparency, are we going to update like how on the website the salaries are listed to show like, because right now I think some positions have a really wide range where it can be like starting salary 60,000, max salary 130,000, and sometimes like when people apply, especially people of color and women, they don't know what to ask for in that range. So that band that was talked about like if you have 1 year of experience, you're going to be minimum around this 2 years, this 3 years, that. Is that going to be on the job posting to create transparency?
I think we could address that by having a hiring salary. We'll have a range so that people won't look at the entire pay band to make a, I guess, indication of what they would like to have. And when we put a hiring range, they will know that that is where the salary will fall, and we will internally look at those experience levels and make the determination.
Yeah, because I think my concern is more around like some of the positions that have that really large band, and like if someone's applying for it and they may be really experienced, but they may be like too nervous to ask for the higher band, and it tends to be like women of color who sell themselves short in those.
Okay, Commissioner Carter. First of all, I'd like to just thank Mr. Campbell for this incredible report. We appreciate that work. And then Commissioner Carter, you want to go ahead?
Oh, yes. Thanks, Mr. Campbell. Thanks to our own staff for this information. feels like something I should be thinking about at a work session. This is, I don't know, it's late at night and I feel
Yeah.
like a little feeble-minded, but this is super important, and I do have a number of questions. Are we intending for this to be a discussion tonight, or more of just?
Just the presentation tonight, and we can have more discussion around it, manager, during the budget session. So tonight is just a presentation. We don't have to go into any in-depth conversation.
Okay, great. Well, thrilled to see the $19.90.
1922.
Sorry, it's 1922 as the new living wage for Durham County. That's and some things for us to consider, I think, as part of our compensation philosophy would include one element that comes to mind is, I do think it makes sense to increase our range for pay for performance, so that it's either 3% or 4%, right? And in so doing, we need to be sure it's a really robust evaluation that, definitely leads to an outcome where, wow, this person's truly out. So we'll be hearing some more about that, it sounds like. So I think that's really good. And I will just say that when I looked at the attachment class comparison list by pay plan, some of the upper ranges, especially for more executive staff, who I think are all amazing, but they were really high. I was surprised at the upper range of some of our pay band, and want to be sure that we're spending the bulk of our salary increases on those who are already not making one of our larger wages. So some of our people who, are in DSS, and these are hard to fill positions and their work is super traumatic, being sure that substantial percentage of the increase is going to that group of employees. Do you see what I'm saying? Just, so those are some things I'd like to think more about and look into with a little bit more detail. And that's what comes to mind for me tonight. I know I'll have some other points of discussion going forward.
Yeah, you'll have another bite at it.
Okay.
Well, Commissioner Carter, I can reassure you, I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself earlier. I'm Dara Richardson, HR Manager, and I'm responsible for class and comp here up under the wonderful leadership of Kathy Everett Perry. But I do want to just point out that in those hiring ranges, we tend to rarely ever hire anybody past the midpoint of a range. And especially for executive positions, I want to point out, is to be able to reflect the potential of where a position can go. So say, for instance, we're looking for a new CFO. We're not going to hire that person right at the minimum of that range, but they would want to come in, especially if they're highly experienced in that area, and see that I do have a potential to grow while at Durham County. So as Kathy mentioned before, we do recommend on our positions to let the candidates know where our hiring max is. So although that range is there, we don't hire people right there at the end.
Thing I want us to consider is the recommendation is for 7% across the board. I don't know. I guess I'm just wondering about the possibility of having higher raises for those who are in our hard to fill positions and maybe are making less, dollars per hour, and not as great an increase in those who are already at the executive level of our salary schedule. I don't know.
I would add that beyond the 7%, the majority of the money is going to those that are non-supervisory positions.
Right. I'm sure that's true. I did look at that chart, and just in the manager's office, the 24 employees, even though the percentage, their slice of the pie may be small, but per person, it was quite large compared to some of the other departments. So these are just things I've noticed and I want to think more about.
Really?
Well,
Just,
excuse me just a second. Which one of our budget sessions will this come up? Manager.
We are developing the schedule now, and so we'll send out the schedule once it's developed, but we are working with the departments to develop.
We'll know when this is going to be on our budget
Yes.
session.
Yes.
Okay.
Mine is really quick for the manager because I had the same concern that Commissioner Carter had, and correct me if I'm wrong. One of the beautiful things about the budget and the way the staff set it up, you all have given yourselves room and latitude to do just what Commissioner Carter asked. So I asked that during my one-on-one. So they've given themselves that space and that latitude for the artists to fill positions and for some of the ones that are lower where the market might be asking for more. Because as you know, we've lost, what's the good example? Some of our mechanics, we've lost some others. And so we have to be more competitive. So I think from what I got from staff and from the manager, there's latitude in the budget, 6 months from now to kind of sort of do something. So I had that same concern, and I'm happy that other folks have it. So, hey, we can do it if we need to do it. And correct me because I don't want to put words in your mouth, Dr. Sowell.
You are correct, and if you all recall, last budget cycle, I recommended a lower percentage increase for those that made above 75,000, and it was a higher percentage increase for those and so that is something that we are aware of, and we're making sure that we're addressing the compensation needs of those who are our lower salary positions.
Monica, are we accepting calls? I see Dr. Allison on the call. Are we accepting calls?
We are not. She has been watching the entire time, but because I am showing the full screen to keep Mr. Russell online for questions or for answers, that's why you can see Dr. Allison. But we do not have anyone signed up to speak.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to check. Thank you for
Commissioner Jacobs.
Yes, I'm going to basically hold my questions and comments to the budget hearing. It's 10 till 10.
Yeah.
I mean, the budget work session.
Yeah.
I do really appreciate, though, Mr. Campbell and staff, the policies. I think that's really, really important that we have very clear policies and that it's transparent. And I appreciate the importance of having those policies for everybody's sake. So I'm really, really glad to see that. And the philosophy as well. And I just wanted to ask, when will we get the full report? Do you know when that will be ready to be sent out to us?
It should be the end of this week.
Okay, great, awesome. All right, thank you so much.
I would just quickly note as well, we did a large piece of work the year before last on hard-to-fill positions. So those positions still have sign-on bonuses. Those are some of the things that we put in place. So although we are having these adjustments and moving people forward, for our detention officers and our EMS technicians, our youth home counselors, they have nice, hard-to-fill bonuses that are being offered now for those individuals. So that's in addition to the work that we're doing.
All right, thank you so much for all of this hard work, and we know we'll get to look at it and discuss it at another time.
Thank you.
Anything else for you, Manager? Okay. Okay, so if that was our last item. Anything else from commissioners or manager? Hearing none, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.